What's your advice for Mexicans that want to be and do good in a country where murder, violence, and corruption is the norm?
Well, I talked about that tonight. I mean, when Jacob becomes Israel, right? As his character transforms. He transforms so completely that he becomes a new person, and he becomes the progenitor of those who wrestle with God. That's Jacob. Jacob is not a good guy when he starts out. He is a lying, manipulative, self-satisfied, intellectual, tent-dwelling mama's boy. That's what he is. He deceives his father and manipulates his brother out of his rightful inheritance. And because of that, he has to run from his home. Although you could imagine that that's a relief for Jacob because he gets away from his mother. And on the way to his uncle, he has a dream. And the dream is of Jacob's ladder, this spiral upward that has God at its pinnacle, with the angels from God moving up and down on the pathway to heaven. And he wakes up and he builds an altar and he makes a vow to God to journey up the ladder to heaven. What does that mean? It means that he decides to turn away from his iniquity and to become good. What does that mean for you? It means that you could decide to do that. You could decide to do good. How? Well, in the biblical stories, the way you become good, you could say, is the Old Testament way and then the New Testament way. The Old Testament way is thou shalt not, the commandments. Stop doing the things you know are stupid. And it's a game in a way you can play with yourself. It's like you can look at your life, you can talk to your conscience, you can decide what you're doing that's counterproductive and wrong by your own standards of evaluation, and then you can see which of those things you would be able to change, maybe, and then you can change them. And then every time you make that sacrifice and you shed a little bit of dead wood, or you allow it to be burned off, then you're a little wiser and you can see a little more clearly, and you can see what else might have to go. You can see that if your eye offends you, that it should be plucked out. And then maybe you can get to the point where you can not only stop doing what's bad, but you could start doing what's good, which is really what Christ calls upon people to do. He talks to the rich young man who says to him, Lord, I have been a devout follower of the commandments. I honor my parents, I keep the commandments, but my life is still insufficient. And Christ says to him, you must sell everything you have and follow me. And Christ's disciples say, if that's the price of salvation, then no one is willing to pay it. And people read that as if it's an anti-capitalist screed. That's the liberation theology take, let's say. And that isn't what it means at all. It means that if you've stopped doing what's wrong and you're not doing enough of what's right to be engaged in your life, then you have to radically change what you're doing, and you have to give up everything that's an impediment to your progress forward. And for the rich young man, Christ's diagnosis was that his wealth was bringing him misery and not buying for him entrance into the kingdom of heaven. So what does that mean practically? You want to fight the tyrant like Moses? You want to stand up for the slave like Moses? Get your house in order. How do you do that? Start with yourself. Stop doing the stupid things that you're doing that you know are stupid. Start doing the things that you know are good. Pursue that religiously. And then you'll learn how to set things in order beyond the confines of your own soul, beyond the dynamics of your relationship with your wife, beyond the stabilization of your own family. Maybe you'll become enough of a person so that having put what's right in front of you in order, you have something more to offer to everyone else. So, one step at a time. You want to turn yourself into the person whose words ring true. And those are the people that no tyrant can stand against. That's the man who goes to the court of the Pharaoh and says, God commanded me to say to you, let my people go so they may worship me in the desert. What does that mean? It doesn't mean let my people go so they can have a naked orgy while worshiping the golden calf. It means let my people go so they can adopt the mature sacrificial attitude that establishes the state that does not require a king or a slave. How do you participate in that? By standing up against your own tyranny, by standing up against the tyranny in your marriage and in your family, in your community, in the state, by sacrificing your slavish habits, by attending to what calls to you, by establishing a relationship with your conscience, and by becoming a leader. And if enough people do that, the tyrants will vanish and the slaves will be free. So you all know that, I think, at some level, or you wouldn't be here tonight listening to this. You're here because something is calling to you. And so I would say, get at it. There's tyrants that need to be confronted and slaves that need to be freed. And you might be one of the tyrants and one of the slaves. So you could start with yourself.